Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Events Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Terry Wheatley. She is the managing editor and founder, or we could say founder and managing editor of Collect the Dots Collective. So welcome, Terry.
Well, thank you for having me, Lisa.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you were able to do this. I've actually, because I know you were with Vintage Wine Estates, correct?
Yes, yes, I was.
Yes,
Yes, 9 years.
oh, okay. So what made you go out and start your own? That's a big deal to leave an established business and
Mhm.
kind of get going on your own.
Well, the company has taken some turns over the last couple of years. So we did, the group took the company public in June of 2021. And since that time, there's been some ups, some downs, some curveballs.
Hmm.
And I was given the opportunity to move on last July. And so myself, as well as Jess Kogan, who's also a
I
partner in the
love,
business,
yeah,
isn't she brilliant?
she's
Yes.
awesome. I had spoken with her at it's been a while now since we did the BTS series, and she's
Oh,
such an amazing person and so inspirational. So that's why
yeah.
you come from good stock from
Yeah.
where you're coming.
Yes. Good partners.
Yeah.
So myself, Jess Kogan, also Jenna Duran, also a partner, was the vice president of marketing for Vintage Wine Estates. She left at the same time to join us. I also had a longtime friend and associate that I'd worked with at Gallo, who went on to be an executive at the Gap and then a design consultant for many years. She's joined us. And then most recently, Marianne Vangren, who was the vice president of public relations for Vintage Wine Estates, left Vintage and has joined the group. So we have five very experienced, I want to say friends in the business, but all with specific skill set and expertise to bring it all together into what we have now created, which is a brand development, sales, marketing, digital communication company that not only are we going to build brands for ourselves,
Mhm.
which is the thing that we love to do. So we're all getting back to our
Yep.
roots. But at the same time, do for others what we do for ourselves. So we're going to, about half of the business is going to be in that brand development and doing things for ourselves. And the other half is we're working with some small companies. We're working with some very large, legacy brands in the business and help them do what we've done for years. So
Yep.
exciting times,
Well,
really exciting times.
I think, and also, even though, it's as you said, you're split a little bit in terms of what you're doing, but when you're talking about development, that's, I don't care how big you are. I mean, I've spoken with the Cloroxes, and they have
Mhm.
their smaller D2C side, or their, and anytime, that's really that
Mhm.
entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Talk, like, not just within what you're doing now, but just what's your mindset, going into
Mhm.
that, in terms of what do you feel like is your best asset about it, and then also maybe
Mhm.
what's maybe a little bit that scares you a little more so.
Well, I was taught to be afraid of nothing, so nothing.
Okay.
So I was raised by very strong women that believed don't let anything scare you. But in my a little over 4 decades of industry experience, I spent 6 years starting my own company in 2008. Right when the world was crashing in the market, I decided to start my own company after being in corporate America with Trincaro Sutter Home. And brand development was I want to say, my safe spot, my expertise, and my comfort level. So I've
Mhm.
called on big customers. And it just starting something from the grassroots, naming, sourcing, building the business plan, building the marketing plan. That really honed my skills and really fueled my entrepreneurial spirit. That those 6 years of doing it on my own, calling my own shots, that was, again, I go back to my happy space. So I feel like we're all returning to that. Jess has started her own company when she had Cameron Hughes as the co-founder of Cameron Hughes. She started it from the ground up. I've, the other partners in the company, like Jenna Duran was I want to say my other half of my brain at Vintage Wine Estates. So she can finish my sentences when it comes to brand development. So she was very involved when we developed a brand over at Vintage Wine Estates called Bar Dog. She took it from 2,000 cases up to I think it's 125 or 150,000 cases in a very short period of time. So these, not only myself, but these women, this is what they do. They know the foundation pieces, they know the digital side of it, and you bring it all together. And so that's what I get excited about it, because back in the day when I started Canopy Management, I created a brand called, and again, Marianne Bangren was with me at the time. We
Very nice.
created
You have these relationships that continue
we're
throughout.
bringing all these people back together. We created Middle Sister. And Middle Sister in its heyday went up to almost 300,000 cases. We did that in 5 years of building it from scratch, selling it ourselves, marketing ourselves, building a social media community behind it with the Wine Sisterhood. There was just so much just entrepreneurial excitement behind doing that. And then we sold. We had some business partners that we made a promise. 5 years, raise your hand and we'll sell. I didn't really mean it, but we gave our word. This is what we're going to do. If we find a buyer, great. If we don't, we'll keep going. And and then we found a buyer, which was Vintage Wine Estates. So to me, going back to doing what we do best as a group is where I keep coming back to happy place, but that's where our expertise is. That's where you get excited, getting up in the morning and being excited about ideas or how you're going to do something, and you do it scrappy. You don't do it with giant, big corporate budgets. You're doing it through great ideas, great digital with Jess, the communications that are coming through in the partnerships from Jenna and Marianne. And then Stephanie's creative eye. She's probably one of the best in the business. It's like, okay, you have to sleep now. You have to sleep now. But capturing that back for me now is the next chapter in my story.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And everything you're saying, and you kept saying, coming back to your happy place. And I feel like you finding your happy place, or Jess, or everyone else, they all have where they fit into the place, into your company. And you bring in these people who have their happy places. Sounds like maybe a little different. I'm sure there's the similarities that cross over, because you're going to have that one, that entrepreneurial spirit, that excitement of starting something new. I mean, those are traits that not everyone has. So, if you don't, then maybe, starting your own business doesn't make sense. But then how did you know your happy place? Like when you were first graduating college and you thinking about what your career is going to be, like, did you have that lined up? Like, talk about what you did think and then how you got to where you are today.
Well, what I did think when I was younger, so I'm married to a professional rodeo cowboy, retired, as I'm a woman of a certain age. So what, I was studying journalism. I was the editor of my high school paper. I thought I should be either a court reporter, which was a skill set that I worked on, or I was going to be in journalism. And I was raised on a ranch. I loved the cowboy lifestyle, and I married a professional cowboy who moved me outside my comfort zone in Northern California to Central California, left to go on the road to rodeo. And the happy accident was I needed to go back to work because I was stranded, I want to say, in Central California. And I told him I could have a job. I was going to be at work when he got back 4 days later, and went to the biggest employer in Stanislaus County, which happened to be Gallo Winery. and said, here's my resume, here's what I can do. Hire me in 4 days. I have to be employed on Monday. And they did. And I worked for them for 17 and a half years. So did I have a plan? Absolutely not. Was I wanting to be a writer? Was I wanting to be involved in journalism? Yes, but that wasn't what came true. So I look at my career in wine, and the people I've worked with, the teams I've worked with, and it was like going into a master class of wine. Gallo at the time, and still does, I will say, has brought in some of the best minds in the industry. A lot of folks outside the industry that came in, people, Carnation, Procter and Gamble. The head of marketing went on to be the president of Playtex back in the day when I worked there. The current CEO of Constellation was a young man that came out of college, and I worked with him. The president of Disney, currently in Southern California, was a young man out of college that I worked with. So these are the type of people that came through those doors. And I was fortunate enough to work with, learn from, listen to, and hone my skills in the industry. So was it a plan? No. Happy accident? Yes. But have I made a career out of it? Yes. And I tell young women that are getting started is that listen and learn from whomever you surround yourself with. And that's what I did at Gallo, whether I was there was in public relations when there was a UFW strike. That wasn't my background, but they were kind of all hands on deck. You listened and learned from some of the best PR people in the business to when they were launching Bartles and James, some of the best advertising companies in the business. Listen, learn, and then hone your skills and then apply those skills as you go along. And that's what I've done for, again, woman of a certain age, I keep saying a little over 4 decades in the business. So I've listened to a lot of folks. I've learned a lot. And now one of my goals, not only is to build brands, help other people, but it's to help young women get their started, whether it's in the wine business or I'm working with a small baker right now. I'm working with actually my granddaughter to create a business for her. There's just so much that I've learned over the years that I feel it's my duty to give that back to other women that want a start.
Right. Well, you say it was a happy accident, and obviously it's not, in the sense that, because as you said, you listened and learned. You took those. You can start within any organization, and you can start as the president for all that matters. If you're not doing what you need to do to make things better than what you're, for the company, for the people around you, and learning and moving forward, then it doesn't matter where you start. So you obviously went in with that mentality. And let's go back to when you're talking about, when you're talking to women today, if someone was coming to you and they're wanting to get into a brand or get into a company, but because that's not always easy, going into the same company for 17 years and advancing, because I think a lot of times, in order to get ahead, and I mean, most of my career has been in TV, but you kind of have to go to the next show, the next, that
Oh, right.
in order to get that next level, that next, whether it be salary, title, whatever.
Right.
But how would you recommend someone navigate? I mean, do you think that that's still a good way for a younger woman to get into a company and stay with them and navigate their way through until they advance? Or is it different now? Our times changed?
It's so different now. I look back in, had I worked there 5 years and then went on to a new company, I would say that the generation, the millennials, the new Gen Zs, if they stay at a company 3 years, it's a long track record.
Yeah.
Back then, again, that was in the 70s, the early 80s. You took on a job and you worked harder than your counterparts. You stuck it out, you stayed. That was just the mentality of women that were trying to prove themselves, especially in not only a male dominated industry, but a established older
Mhm.
Italian family, privately held. You did try to work harder, learn more, um, than your peers. And I proved myself to be a loyal as 17 and a half years, but it came to that point
Yeah.
where if I am going to accomplish my dreams, I have to leave. And
Yeah.
that was like leaving family. That was leaving family because I I grew up there. I started when I was 20 there. So um, it was hard, but it was the right thing to do at the time. Now, advising young women now, it's listen, learn, get in, do, be loyal. If it works and there's a path and you see it and you can accomplish it, stay. If you
Mhm.
can't, always keep your eyes open,
Yep.
your heart open to opportunities because you never know. Um, you just never know.
Right.
So I don't see that stickiness with the business industry today.
Well, especially in marketing. I mean, if you look at some of the most senior level people out there and their resumes are there's a lot of jobs there. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, it's not, in some industries, even today, with some industries, people are in the same position for a length of time.
Mm-hmm.
Very rare that I speak with someone like
Yeah.
yourself that has been
Yeah.
the same job for most of their career. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not about, oh, they can't hold a job. It's about these are
Yeah.
conscious choices that they make in order to advance their career. I think it's also, and maybe it's a mentality, I think, of most
Mm-hmm.
marketers, or like you always looking for that next thing that's going to
Yeah.
excite. And if you can't keep that going within your
Mm-hmm.
organization, then you need to go elsewhere, because otherwise you just get stagnant.
Right. Right. Well, and that's where uh when I left Gallo and went to Trinchero Sutter Home, it was Sutter Home when I joined them, changed the name to Trinchero over time. There was a lot of new, fresh, constantly growing, doing. So that just kept it rolling. When
Mhm.
I left to start my own company, I tend to have ideas that swim upstream, sometimes radical. Um, and when you get to a point where you become, I don't want to say corporate's not the word, but you get structured and there's rules and there's the rules, there's constant rules. I wanted to create my own rules.
Yeah.
And that's where it was so refreshing and exhilarating and just creative to start my own company. But I do tell young women or young men that want to start their own company, you have to remember the hard parts: fundraising, making payroll, dealing with the controller, uh, all the administrative things that you don't love to do. But in your own company, it's far outweighed by the creative of accomplishing something, building something. It's like birthing a brand and then seeing it grow. It's like a child.
Well, and
It's
that's what I
so,
think. It's exciting when you start something new, but also I think it goes back to you wanting to be you're in your happy place, and
yeah.
you go with it eyes wide open. You know the realities. It's not all, fun and games and
Mhm.
excitement, but
Mhm.
where it's the base or the foundation of it is that happy place, that
Mhm.
excitement. I think when people follow that as opposed to following the job
Or the title.
or the
The
title.
title. I said that when folks have, so I've gone from when I joined Vintage, from coming in to run marketing very quickly, run sales and marketing, and then being promoted into president. You take on responsibilities that are not necessarily all that fun.
Mhm.
and you lose what you're so good at. And, I've been honored to be Innovator of the Year award,
Or 50
and
over 50.
at 50 over 50, just a lot of things but that's when I was doing everything that I love to do. And when you get, so I learned so much in working with the team to take the company public. I wouldn't give up that experience for anything. It was phenomenal. Um, would I want to repeat it? No. I I learned so much, but again, going back to that place where you're excited to wake up in the morning, you're excited to think about the ideas that you have, or actually you're excited about maybe the small client that you're working with on how you could fix something that they're working with, by just bringing your experience to the table. That is, again, it's what fulfills me. It makes me happy. And I don't plan it's some folks that next title, that next raise, that next step is what they're striving for. And maybe the current generation will see that, look, find that place
Mhm.
where it's just fulfilling, the money's, you're satisfied with the financial part of it.
Yep.
But if you're not tickled every morning when you get up, at least half the time
Yep.
of excited about what you're working on, then rethink it.
Yep.
Rethink it. So
That's
it's career advice with, some college students. I have a granddaughter now turning 21, and I'm working on a business plan for her. And I watch when her face lights up on certain products that she wants to work on. It's like, then do that. That's where you need to focus your attention. Yeah, you need to have your degree. You need to have a accounting foundation in there. There's certain things to run your own business you need to have, but you can hire that.
Yeah. No,
Hire
I
someone
get
to
the right.
do that. Yeah,
Yep.
if you're doing every day what you love to do.
No, I totally agree. I'm curious, what do people get wrong about you when they first meet you? Is there something that they might assume, and then as they get to know you, they realize maybe that's not?
It depends on the audience. I have multiple, I'm a Taurus. I have multiple personalities. Um, in my Western crowd, people would say I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and they see me in a different light than folks that do business with me. I'm very direct. I'm very honest with my feedback. So that sometimes can be off-putting,
Mhm.
but I believe that people that have worked with me for a long time, as you can see, continue to want to work with me
Mhm.
over a long time, is I am very empathetic. I it's kind of like, if you work for me, you're like, if I don't want to say like children, that's not the right comparison, but it's like, my mother never allowed people to criticize her kids.
Mm.
She could criticize us behind closed doors, but you never spoke ill of your family outside
Mhm.
of closed doors. That to me has been a way of dealing with people, is that I will treat them fairly and um, be direct, but they know that my directness is coming from a place of compassion and
Yep.
empathy for the
Wanting to help.
person. If
Right.
I if yeah, if I don't like a person, I probably won't give you feedback.
Okay. Yeah. No, and that makes
So yeah, so there are those, I would say, that would say I'm a little hardcore, but the folks that know me well
it comes from.
know that I'm coming from a place, I want you to be better. I want you to be your best self. And
Yeah.
if I can help you be your best self, here's the input. But it's not that I don't love you less. It's
Hmm.
like, I want you to be your best self.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. I do think, and it sounds like you do this. I think there's wanting someone to be their best self. So it's coming from a good place, as long as you also let them know when they are their best selves. You know what I mean? So I
yes,
think if you're
yes,
always only, because some people
right.
are that way. They think, oh, they already know that they're this, that they're great
Mm-mm.
at this. So I just need to tell them when they need to step it up.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you need to have that whether you're a person, a boss, and that's your
Mhm.
what you're dealing with, or in personal lives. But I do think you need to kind of share both sides
Yeah,
in order to be really appreciated. And it sounds like from what you're saying, you are that way.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's why I have relationships that have folks that have worked with me for years, folks that would like to continue to work with me. It's like you build a community of trust. And it
Hmm.
all comes down to trust. If they trust you, then they'll take your input and they know that, yeah, you're there to celebrate them. You're there to give them credit. That's something that there's too many people in high positions that take credit for their team's work. I
Hmm.
try to always say it's a we. There's so many big projects I've worked on, whether it's Build a Better Burger at Sutter Home to I worked on the Bartles and James team. I see so many people's resumes that say they did that. Like, well, you were part of that, but
Hmm.
you didn't do that.
Right.
And I've watched it happen to me on projects I've worked on, and
Hmm.
someone else took credit for it.
Yeah.
I'm very cognizant of making sure that it's a we are, especially with this team we're working on now, everybody has their own nicknames behind the curtain. We have different nicknames for Jess. We have a nickname for Jenna. Everybody has, Marianne's the word diva. Everybody has their nicknames, but when it's brought all together, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think so too. Well, I can't not go back to, we've sort of let it go under the rug, but a
hmm.
rodeo cowboy. Okay.
Yes,
So
well,
how has like
it's kind of rolled in there somewhere.
is there any rodeo cowgirl in you, or like
Yes, I was on my college rodeo team. So I was raised on a ranch. My grandfather had racehorses. I rode racehorses, exercised racehorses until I was a sophomore in high school when I didn't realize the horse was running away from me. My father seemed to think that I was out of control, and that was and I was really tiny at the time, so they needed someone really small to exercise the horses. So that was in my blood. That was my DNA. And I met my husband at an event, and
Mhm.
he was the Western States all-around champion cowboy, and I just thought that was just so impressive.
Sure.
Dated for a couple of years, married. I've been married 50 years to my rodeo cowboy husband,
Oh, very nice.
who is if you I it's a tough world to follow, but if you do, the National Finals Rodeo is the kind of the Super Bowl of rodeo. My husband made that, qualified for that 6 times, and then I raised a rodeo cowboy son of that caliber, who my son Wade was a competitor and made the national finals 6 years. And then part of that, so this is how we linked this together. I started in business I got married in June. I started at Gallo in September because I didn't want
Yeah.
I wanted to work. I didn't want to sit home while he was on the road. But fast forward, I always kept my worlds. This is my business world, and this is my Western world. And there's, come home, there's cowboys. If I opened up the window right now, there's a roping arena in my backyard.
Huh.
My son and grandsons are out there roping and my husband, who's since retired, is watching them. So, but I've always kept these worlds very separate. When I was at Sutter Home, I uh, I am a breast cancer survivor.
Oh.
But I was promoting pink wine. And at the time, one of the owners, Vera Trincaro, who has since passed, had breast cancer. So we wanted to find a way to give back to research for breast cancer. So I created, along with Marianne, who's now working with me, she worked with me at Sutter Home. We created Sutter Home for Hope. And we put a pink capsule in Sutter Home. We did a contribution to the City of Hope, and that campaign continues to this day.
Wow.
And I think we did that in 2000. So over 20 years, that campaign has been going. So from that, so this is when the worlds collide. My son is coming into the National Finals Rodeo. Again, there's millions of dollars up at this rodeo. 10-day competition, lot of high pressure. And I thought, I need to promote Sutter Home White Zen at this rodeo because what are cowboys drinking? They're drinking Coors Light, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels, but they're not drinking wine. How can I promote it? So we came to the table and said, we would like to do a commercial on ESPN. We want to promote a pink wine. And they said, great, you get this like little 3-minute thing in the middle of the arena when all the cameras are on. What do you want to do? It's like, I think I'm going to challenge all the cowboys to wear pink. Are you tough enough to wear pink?
That's awesome.
Now, think about this. This was in October. The rodeo's in December. And that's when there was no pink in football, no pink in baseball, basketball. Nobody wore pink. And we challenged the cowboys. I got a hold of Wrangler because my son said, Mom, for you, yeah, I'll wear a pink shirt, but I don't own one. So thank you very much. We called Wrangler. They Federal Expressed in enough shirts for every single contestant to wear. And that night, Tough Enough to Wear Pink was born. Every single cowboy rode out in the grand entry when all the cameras, ESPN at the time telecasted, was on. And the crowd, like, what is going on here? And Tough Enough to Wear Pink was born. We have now, that was Sutter Home. I did that at Sutter Home. When I left, the owners of Sutter Home gave me that trademark because it was tied to my family. And since then, my daughter-in-law runs the campaign. As a grassroots group, the campaign's raised over $40 million since 2004. And so that's when my worlds collided. And since that time, like in the Western world, people know, oh, that's Jim Wheatley's wife, that's Wade Wheatley's mom. Oh, that's the creator of Tough Enough to Wear Pink. And oh, by the way, she was a president of a wine company. She took a company public. So now they speak in full sentences about me, because before I'd come and I was Jim's wife or Wade's mom, and now I'm, Paige's grandmother or Cameron's grandma. So it's all come together. So yes, married to a cowboy who's since retired, but they were world class. And it's a lifestyle that I will say a lot of people, success can go to your head. No, not when you're married to a cowboy.
Yeah.
It's like holding on to a kite string. It's like you're grounded. You're constantly grounded on who you are and what you stand for. And your word is your bond. And it's a lifestyle that I was raised in, but it brings me, it keeps me grounded.
Well, and the thing is, everything you just described is what the better leaders are, in terms of organization. I'm not saying they all fit that. But I do think that really that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that loyal person. You're looking for that grounded person, the person who's willing to work. And one, I can't not it's congratulations the right word, but just the fact that you're a survivor. Like I don't know.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm not sure how to ever respond to that, because I hate that you went through it, but I'm so happy that you're able to come through it now and be talking to me this way. So
yes. Thank you.
But no, I think that's awesome what you did with the brave enough to wear pink, courage. What is it?
Tough
Tough
enough to wear
enough to
pink.
wear pink. I
Yeah,
love that. So
tough enough
I
to wear
really
pink.
want you to open that shade.
Oh, and
That way they
I'm not gonna
know.
do it. Well, they're definitely roping out there, and yeah. And now my granddaughter lives across the street, and she is they have a training uh facility over there. So I am surrounded here in I'm in a two-story casita here that I can open up the window, and
And see.
sometimes it's really distracting though, because if you hear a crash, or there's a horse that's hit the fence, or it's like, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. And there's something going on up
Big
there.
motion. Well,
Yeah.
Terry, I think that's awesome. I love that. It's such a great two worlds coming together. And I do think when you look at really what makes both
Mhm.
successful, good, they should cross over. So, and I
Yeah.
think it's such a
Yeah.
great story to share. So, Terry, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure to get to know you.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure. Anytime.
That is good. Well,
Yep.
and next time we're bringing the ropes and the lasso, all of that. I got to see that.
Next time, next time.
Next time. Okay. And thank you for watching. And please, as I always say, if you know someone that you want me to sort of pull back the curtains on, an influential woman marketer, please let me know. I'll do my best. And so thanks for watching. And Terry, again, thank you.
Thank you.